Welcome to episode 3 of the Boot Nerds podcast. How's it going, Jay?
All good, man. How are you?
Pretty good. Very cold. Tons of snow. It's miserable weather right now.
I know what it's like. And that's the thing, right? With all these new boots dropping, I'm guessing you guys feel the pain. We're out testing new boots, and I shouldn't complain about testing new boots, but we're out in the cold playing, and we're out in the cold recording, and those days can get really, really long in the snow. I mean, that can be a bit of a pain. So that's how
we have so much snow that it would be impossible to play outside.
Yeah, I can imagine. And now you don't even have an indoors space to play even more.
I have indoor. I can go play indoor, which I do. That's how I'm currently testing stuff. It's just recording is a bit of a pain.
Okay.
As soon as they see the camera come out, it's a problem.
They want money.
Believe it or not. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, that's how it goes.
Yeah, that's how it is.
So, what do we have on the menu for today?
I thought it was pretty interesting that Neymar got injured again.
Definitely.
Not to blame his boots, but there was an interesting quirk from the last injury where he switched from the FG stud pattern to the AG Pro stud pattern. That's what he's basically been wearing up until this point. Yep. Now he's injured again. Is this a Mercurial thing?
Honestly, I don't think so. I saw the injury, and I don't think it's a Mercurial thing. And especially now that he's moved to the AG pattern, which has, I've got it here in my hands, which has conical studs. I don't really see how it would be a Mercurial thing. If it had been with the blades, okay, you could entertain the idea, but I don't think it's a thing with the AG sole plate. Maybe it's just that after the first fracture he had, I think maybe his angles would have been weakened, and thus more, he has a higher tendency to get an injury.
Sure.
What about you?
It was interesting that because the first time he did it, there was a bit of a cling that almost seemed like that's what caused the injury.
Yeah.
And a bladed stud pattern in general, especially the Mercurials, it's going to happen. Yeah. The fact that so many guys are wearing these and not suffering the same injury leads me to believe it's not a problem. But it's interesting to me that he's stayed away from that stud pattern for so long, throughout the whole World Cup, up until now. And a lot of people have asked why he's doing that. And it's simply because the AG ones have the rounded studs. There's, believe it or not, and a lot of people don't understand this concept, I'm sure you will, is that when you have too much grip, that might sound like a good thing, but that can actually be more dangerous to your body in terms of suffering an injury.
Yeah, and I think it definitely plays a part. Now I've got both the FG and the AG pattern here on the Mercurials. It definitely plays a part. I think that he went away from the blades because he had too much grip. Because obviously when you have the bladed studs, they're going to give you more grip. Your foot is going to be more stuck in the ground, and thus you do put more pressure, more stress on your joints and on your knees, which means that if you have or if you're simply just unlucky, that extra stress and that extra pulling in the joints or on your ankle, for instance, may lead to an injury. And obviously with rounded studs, you have a smaller surface, so you have less tendency for them to really stick to the ground because obviously the gripping surface isn't as big and flat as on the bladed studs. So I think for Neymar, it plays a part, yeah, but it could happen with the X. It could happen with the Puma Futures. It could happen with any boot that has bladed studs. I know the Futures don't really have that many bladed. Don't they have?
There's 4.
Yeah, there are 4. Yeah, but basically with every boot that has some sort of flat blade-like stud, it could happen. So I guess Neymar has just been really unlucky, and since we've seen earlier the whole debate about, did Wayne Rooney get injured because of the T90 supremacies back in the day? Did he break his metatarsal because of that boot? And now Neymar, I think it's just a fluke, really. It could be anyone, and it could be any boot, for me at least.
I would be really curious to see who made that call, because obviously, the fact that he changed from the FG to the AG stud pattern, somebody, whether it was Neymar or a doctor, told him to do that or made it apparent to him that would be a better move. And I was just thinking about this because Neymar has a pretty crazy history over the last, 5 or 6 years with Nike boots. When he was in the Hypervenoms, he didn't wear the regular Hypervenom stud pattern. He wore, it was like kind of a Tiempo stud pattern, no? For a long time.
Didn't he wear the
Phantom 1?
Yeah, that's true. He wore
for the Phantom 1, and then when the Phantom 2, he was wearing that modded version that was basically a Vapor 10, and he did have the Mercurial stud pattern at that point.
Yeah, that's true. And then he never got into to Hypervenom 3, which was a bit of a shame. That would have been cool, but yeah, I mean, and that's what we see with the pros. They all have their little modifications, and we've also seen over the years a lot of pros using the old Intertract sole plate, the stud pattern that we saw back from the OG T90 Air Zoom T90, I think they were called actually. Those boots, and it was a really, really good plate. Actually, now I think about it, I had this discussion with a friend the other day, and he told me that Intertract was introduced on the Air Zoom T92s, but the ones were also pretty good.
It wasn't. I don't think it was that different on the one.
No, but it was slight. Yeah, that's what I said. But he's one of the most knowledgeable guy I know when it comes to Nike boots. So I believe him. I think it was the two. Let's leave it at that.
Okay. Yeah. All those guys are gone. That used to be really popular, but that generation of players, they're like the ones that are still around are like in their late 30s. So there's not many guys using that anymore.
But don't you think it's because the ones that used the Intertrack outsole were the guys who actually used to wear the Air Zoom T92s? And we had Totti, did Iniesta also use it?
For a while, I think so, he did. Yeah, there was quite a few big names that were using that. I think Scholes had it for a period too, no?
He did, yeah. And Busquets, I think I've also seen some Busquets boots with the Intertract outsole. But anyways, the whole thing of pros getting their boots, should we say, not even made to measure, but they get them completely customized to their needs. But the funny thing is that Neymar then has just gone into the AG Pro version instead of getting, maybe even going back to the Tiempo outsole. I find that pretty interesting. I don't know about you.
Well, I think the split sole design complicates things with that boot.
Probably, yeah.
Right? Because the only version that has a solid sole plate is the anti-clog one.
Yeah, but they make it work.
They do make it work, but it does change the fit of that boot quite a bit.
Definitely, yeah. I agree. It doesn't feel as anatomical, if you know what I mean.
No, well, it just isn't. That's why.
Yeah.
But I think it's a weight thing too. I think when you go to a solid sole plate, it changes because the anti-clog one is like
it's
really 2 ounces heavy. More compared to the regular one. But really, I think this, and I've made videos about Neymar that some people did not care for.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Neymar as a player. I think what he's capable of in one-on-one situations is incredible. He's probably the best one-on-one player in the world. But
I'm not arguing.
He constantly puts himself in situations where he's going to take shots, get hit, and get injuries.
Yeah, which French coach was it who said, he was basically mocking them, doing all these step overs and rainbows and all that stuff, and they basically said, we're just responding in kind. These are the weapons we have, and they're basically to kick him down. And if the ref allows it, that's just. But that's where it doesn't make sense. If you've ever played at a high level, maybe this is the hockey player in me,
but when you have a guy like that that's trying to humiliate opponents, and whether or not you agree or disagree that that's the right way to play the game, you're going to take a shot at that guy. It might start out as a clean tackle, and it might end up being a really hard one. The problem with Neymar, and why I think referees have a hard time defending him, if you want to call it that, is he makes the gentlest of touches look like he got hit by a bus.
Yeah, and then
when he does actually get hit by the bus, it doesn't look any different.
No, exactly. The guy who cried wolf, right? And this is a very big discussion. But for me, Neymar has everything in his locker to become the next Ballon d'Or winner, to take over from CR7 and Messi. He's got it all. He's fast. He's got the technique. He understands the game. But it's just, there seems to be some sort of dislike growing towards Neymar because of his, should we call them theatrics and antics when he gets hit. And I personally don't really think it suits him, because imagine if he could weed that out of his game. He would be so next level good. And everyone...
It's a decision-making thing at this point.
Yeah. I think people would enjoy him more.
Mm-hmm, for sure. But he's one of those guys that for some reason you watch him and he feels the need. 8 out of 10 times he gets the ball, he tries to dribble?
Yeah.
Like, it's too much.
But
there's a certain point.
Wouldn't you do this if you were that good? I mean, you are that good at it, and you're playing in a league that, you might consider... We've heard all these rumors about him thinking that, the French league is a farmers league. It's too easy for him. He wants to come back and play in Spain. If you think that, genuinely, wouldn't you just also try and take the piss?
Sure. But I feel like when you see these clips of Neymar really getting hit hard, it's always in his own half or right around the halfway mark, where it doesn't really mean anything for a defender or a midfielder to foul him.
Yeah.
You never see him get fouled really hard in the final third because there is genuine reason not to do that. You don't want to give up a penalty. You don't want to give a free kick in a dangerous spot. So that's where he should be taking guys on. I don't think anyone's going to get mad if he tries to dribble a guy at the top of the box and gets fouled. That's great. That's what he should be doing. But when you take a guy on at the halfway point, he's going to stick his knee out on you, and you're going to take a really big hit.
Yeah. And okay, you can even look like it was a bigger hit than it was, but I agree. It's something I would like to see him take out of his game. With that said, though, you just got to respect the man. He's a fantastic player when he's on song, but if he can just take it out, I think people would respect him more, and he would get the respect he deserves, because he is a fantastic player.
Yeah, no, it's a matter of making better decisions and some self-preservation, honestly. Like, you have to kind of protect yourself. If you constantly put yourself in a position to get hit, you're going to get hit. And the referee can call the foul, but he can't take back the hit.
No, I don't. Did you see the image he posted? Like, I think it was a couple of years back. Of how cut up his leg was after just a random match at Santos. Like, he gets hurt a lot, and if he wants to keep playing until he's 35, 36, he has to take care of his body, because otherwise he's going to just fall to pieces.
Yeah, there's certain things you have to avoid. And I think he's at a point in his career where he has to realize that, let me just pass the ball, get up to the final third, and then go to town with the dribbling. Yeah. Because dribbling guys, taking 3 guys on at the halfway point just makes no sense at this anymore.
Neymar, are you listening?
I hope so.
But I think, obviously I'm glad as a United supporter that we're not going to have to face him in the Champions League as it looks right now. But I think, you always want to see those guys play. But it's kind of the way it goes. But being honest, Josh, I don't think it has that much to do with his boots. I just think he was unlucky, and that, he was kind of extra, how do you say this in English? Second language and all. He was more in danger of getting injured because of his previous injury. So he had a higher tendency, if you can say it like that, to get another one. So I don't think it was the boots.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never broken a bone at all.
Not same.
Or my foot, but the foot has so many little small bones, right? I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right, that's enough. That's enough Neymar talk. People are going to be mad at me.
Oh yeah, that's how it goes. I mean, but there's lots to talk about, right? And Neymar is a guy that he splits opinions. So I think it's only fair to discuss him. But last time, Josh, you mentioned something about Q&A.
Yeah, let's. We asked you guys in the last episode. We probably should have started with this now that I'm thinking about it. But if you guys want to ask questions that we will answer in the next episode, leave them in the comments of this video. But right now, we're going to go to episode 2, pull some questions, and answer them for you guys on the podcast.
Exactly.
So I believe you have organized this, Jay.
I have already organized this. So I have a couple of questions already. Should I just fire away? All right. The first one is from Toto the Boy. Nike Mercurial Vapor 12 or Nike Phantom Venom? And I'll let you go first.
For me, it has to be Venom. I like the Vapor. This is the first Vapor probably since Vapor 8 that I would happily wear. and I'm not a super thin boot person, but the Phantom Venom is just so much more my style of what I like. And they're not actually as far off from each other as I think a lot of people would anticipate. But I like the striking element. I like the extra grip. I prefer that it's softer. I just like it better in pretty much every single way.
I would probably, and you know, this might come back to haunt me, but I would probably agree with you, I think. I've really enjoyed the Phantom Venom so far after I tested it. And you know, the way that it looks like it has some punch to it, but actually feels pretty thin and nimble without being razor sharp on the ball like we get in the Vapor. I think they've hit a very good balance in the Venoms, both giving you grip, giving you a little bit of padding and softness on the ball, and giving you that punchy, flat, should we call, strong sensation when you strike the ball because of the striking elements. They give you this like flatter surface. I think it's a very interesting combination, giving you a little bit of everything. Obviously, I've got the AG version of the boot here. I really like the hyper-reactive 2-plate. I think it's very aggressive, perhaps even more aggressive than the Vapor outsole, because it really grips so many ways. I felt
it's a more even grip than the Mercurial.
Yes.
The Mercurial, for something that Nike has done with that stud pattern over the years, it just feels different than everything else because it just manages to put you on your toes somehow. Yeah. I don't quite understand it, where you feel more flat-footed in the Venom or really any other boot, but because of how they've put all the studs on the bottom, you really do feel like you have just tons of bite at all times.
Yeah, and that's what I really... And obviously it makes sense that the studs are pointing different directions, but that's pretty much hitting the nail on the head right there. And okay, I have a really slim foot, so I like the narrow fit in the Vapor a little bit more than I do on the Venom, which is slightly wider. But at the end of the day, the Venom feels a little more comfortable, and it just feels like it has a little bit more to offer, rather than the super hardcore cut down to the bone sensation of the Vapor. But
yeah,
honestly,
that's kind of
I love both.
That's the trade-off though. But do you want like the hardcore super responsive? Go for the Mercurial. If you want 90% of that with the extra grip and a little bit more softness and arguably better comfort, then the Venom is probably the way to go. I've been playing in the Venom, and it actually reminds me a little bit. The grip's not as significant, but it reminds me a little bit of the LZ2.
Yeah, I feel that.
That's the comparison. That's probably the closest comparison, but still pretty far off in all honesty.
Yeah. It reminds me of the LC is a good comparison, but also it feels still thinner. You get the same level of grip, but it still feels less bulky than the LC2s did on the ball.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Do you have a question lined up?
I do not. I kind of depended on you to pick all the questions.
I have a lot of good questions, man.
Good. Perfect.
Will Puma ever take over from Nike and Adidas as the leading football brand, you think? Completely honest.
No. Probably not. It would have to be... they'd have to pick up the next Cristiano Ronaldo or the next Messi, and this guy would have to be dominant for years and have a boot that really resonated with people, which I think that's the tough thing for any brand outside of Nike and Adidas to do, is have a boot that people continue to stay interested in.
Yeah.
So personally,
I agree. So here's what I thought when I saw the question. I also thought no. Because, you know, they don't want to spend the same amount of money, and also they don't have that wow boot, as you say, that people just stick to no matter what. Adi have the Pred, and now the X with the Speed boot. Nike have the Mercurial, but with the two new silos, the one in the future, they've got very good technology. They've got very innovative, good, solid products at, I would say, better prices than Adi and Nike, but they just don't have that. The boot to take it home, the boot that people can always come back to and say, this is my boot. They don't have the Mercurial, so to speak. And I don't really, I don't know if even getting a AAA plus level player down the line will make them the top brand in football, because something has to change, I think, in the mindset of the consumer. It's been so engraved into their heads that it's just Nike and Adidas and then everyone else, which I think is a shame because Puma make really, really good underrated products. I mean, 200 euros for a pair of high-end boots, that is impressive.
They're very competitive, but the sad reality is that they are a very distant third place.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything, if that were to ever happen, it's not going to be anytime soon.
I agree. Which is a shame, but that's just the way it goes.
And they've got some great designers working for them too.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, man, I understand that one. And speaking of that, let me bring in this guy. I'm holding the Puma 1 City Pack here. For those of you listening on the Spotify and Apple podcasts and stuff, you can't see. But I'm holding here the Puma 1. Now, I just wanted to direct some attention to this look. The dark gray cement highlight yellow look. Because with the latest drop from Nike, I mean, I kind of feel like we've seen these before. Now I'm holding the Mercurial, which is also gray and gold and has like an arrow-y design, stripes on the bottom. I don't know what you say, Josh.
It has to be just a coincidence, Jay. There's absolutely no way.
Of course, it's all a coincidence. These colorways are made so long ago that, of course, it's not gonna happen. The City Pack came out in September, and now these boots come out. They can't make such a quick turnaround. It's just it's a funny coincidence, I thought.
It is very, very similar.
Yeah,
they both look good though.
They do.
I mean, you know what? You can always say that you were first.
I'm just saying, Nike hooked me up
First.
if you want.
Yeah, your check's probably in the mail, Jay.
I'm expecting it. Now, moving on to the next question here. What are you guys' thoughts for the next Tiempo? Are Nike going to make the mistake of making them high cut? And is there any chance for Nike to make them like a leather version of the Mercurial? Hit me.
I've had this question a few times and I've avoided it because when the Legend 7 was unveiled and I hadn't tried them yet, I was looking at that boot and I thought, oh my gosh, they crammed so many little things into this boot. It's just going to feel like a jumbled mess, but somehow it doesn't. It is, seriously, I think that the Tiempo Legend 7 is the most complicated boot on the market right now. Just in terms of materials and how many different things are happening, but somehow it just works. And where do they go from there?
Feel complicated, right?
No, feels very simple. I don't know, like, what do they have more to add to that boot? Like,
but how do they beat this guy? That's my question. How do they beat the Copa? Because for me, the Copa, I hear what you say with the Legend. For me, the Copa is simply more, not necessarily in terms of components, but it's more advanced because of Fusion Skin. What they've done with Fusion Skin, like they've seriously taken leather and knit to the next level. So I don't necessarily think they're going to go high cut. That would be suicide. For me, a Tiempo has to be low cut. There's no two words about it. But, are we going to see a leather version of the Mercurial? Wouldn't that be a mistake, you think?
I think so. I'm not too worried about the mid-cut thing based on the Venom. I think that shows that Nike is committed to, hey, we'll just make a boot that's low if it needs to be low. And again, it would be a mistake based on, I don't think there's too many guys buying Tiempos that are wishing for a mid-cut version, right? The guys who want Tiempos, period. They don't want anything extra. I know. And that's what I'm worried about. The Tiempo has been like, it's kind of been a constant evolution of they just add more and more technology. The problem is I think that the Legend 8 is going to have something new that we've never seen from Nike before. It's the only way that I see them going because they've done everything. Like remember when the Legend 4 Elite came out? Or no, Legend 4 Elite. And that was like, that shoe blew my mind. I was like, It was first of all, I think it's one of the best looking Nike boots ever.
I agree.
I love it. Unfortunately, they didn't fit me very well. I didn't actually like playing in them. But that was such a cool idea of just combining so many different elements. But when you compare it to the Legend 7 that we have now, it's not even close.
No, it's not. I have a pair of the OG black orange Laser 4 Elites, and I rock them occasionally. And the quality of the leather for me is just, it doesn't get much better than that because it's so raw and it's so soft. And I love the carbon plate. It was really, really stiff, but it had a very nice responsiveness too. But anyways, what are they going to do with the Legend 8? If a Legend 8 should come, I would probably guess that they're going to continue, really developing this thing with the leather. They kind of have to, because seeing that especially now Adi have come in and done something with the leather and given some sort of texture as well on the leather, so that's not really a unique selling point for Nike anymore on the Tiempo. So they kind of have to push the envelope even further. So I don't really know what they could do within, being reasonable and not screwing up the leather too much. But it's gonna be very, very interesting, because for me the Tiempo is kind of like at a crossroads here. Nike in general has also had a bit of a revamp of their boots, right? With the Phantom line now. So they have, for me, to nail the Tiempo to make it to make sure it stays relevant, because otherwise it's just gonna get lost in the whole Phantom Mercurial setup.
I think the problem is that there's nothing to improve on that boot. It's already good. I think it is, as far as like a modern kangaroo leather boot is concerned, it's as responsive as we've ever seen. The traction is as good as just about anything out there. They're light. They're as light as most speed boots, if not lighter. There's nothing for them to do. I would not put it past Nike to kill the leather on the Tiempo. If the Legend 8 came out and it wasn't actual leather, wouldn't surprise me.
Honestly.
And that might not be the worst move, considering that they have to appeal to kids, and kids don't want leather boots.
You're blowing my mind right now. I was actually going to say that if they bring out a leatherless Tiempo, I would basically say they might as well kill off the Tiempo. So that's a bit of a contrasting opinion right there. I know what you're saying with the kids don't really want leather, but then is the Legend right now? I mean, do Nike need another leatherless boot to appeal to the kids, or is it enough having two Mercurials and a Phantom Venom and a Phantom Vision? Do you know what I mean? Like, would it go in and cannibalize the other silos if they made it, say, a hanger light Tiempo? For me, probably would, but I'd like to hear what you think.
I think the one thing Nike has always done really well is if they're going to have 3 lines, all 3 boots are very different. If they're going to have 4, all 4 are very different. I don't know what the right move is for them, because again, it's change for the sake of change at this point, because yes. I just don't think that there's anything for them to improve. But yeah, I think it should be leather, but the problem is if they go the simple route. Isn't that what the Nike Premier line is for? So they kind of have to go with something really out there. I just don't know what it's going to be. Maybe they implement something like a quad fit system with a leather upper.
But don't they already have that with in the Tiempo? Like, isn't quad fit just the next level of the kind of the mesh net they have in the Legend already?
I guess they could attempt to do more of a one piece Flyknit K leather construction, kind of like what the Copa has done.
But are they gonna are they too proud? I know I'm asking a lot of questions here, but I'm just being the devil's advocate. Like, I don't really see where they can take it right now. It's been around for this spring. It's been around for 2 years. So the cycle of the Legend 7 is coming to an end. I'm actually really excited and slightly worried what they're going to do to the Legend 7, because as you say, the Premier is there. They can't go back to the basics, because the Premier is there at 110 euros, I think. They have to do something innovative, and they have to do something super innovative to kick ass on the Copa, because right now it has set the bar for leather. So, wow, yeah. That's very interesting.
No, it's a mystery.
That's why...
Excited to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, and like I said in the other podcast, that's why, my friend, you and I are reviewers and not innovators. Well, yeah.
It's much easier to just pick apart stuff.
You know, that's what I've been doing for 10 years. A new question here. What is the most comfortable leather football boot? The most comfortable.
I'm hesitant. I can put Tiempo Legend 7 on that list. I think that's a very comfortable boot once broken in. But if you're talking about like old school leather, I still think Copa's broken in are really nice.
Mundials?
I think Mizuno Morelias are great. Yeah, Mundial,
Yeah.
Copa Mundial. And the Morelia, made in Japan Morelia 2s.
I would agree.
top.
It doesn't, for me, it doesn't get better than the Made in Japan Morelia 2s, especially the Japan Wagyu one that was just, it was so ridiculously soft. I've never ever tried anything in my life. Tiempo's also a good shout. It's pretty comfortable. For me also, everything Mizuno, really. They just make, for me, the best leather boots out there. There's really no arguing. But also, and I know it's not a full leather boot, but the Puma 1s, I really, really like them. I think they're very, the leather is so magically soft. And I don't know if it counts as a full leather boot, but, and obviously goes without saying the Copa 19 Plus, which probably I would have just below the Morelia 2 Made in Japans.
Yeah.
Because for me, comfort these days isn't just about the whole slipper-like sensation. Of course, that also matters a lot. But if you can get that, super suppleness of a high-quality kangaroo leather boot, like the Copa, a boot that immediately takes to the shape of your foot. But you can also get that, secure, locked-in sensation. So it's not really, the fact that the leather is soft is not going to be a hindrance, if you know what I mean. So you get the feeling of being comfortable and like there are no pressure points. It's just soft and loving around your foot. But you also feel like you can perform. That to me is a big deal in feeling, in the end, comfortable. So I rate the Copa 19 Plus very highly in that regard.
Yeah, no, I think people always want to name like what is the most comfortable of X type of boot. I think leather boots in general, once you've broken them in, they're all going to have a very similar sensation. Like the out-of-the-box softness of a boot is great to feel, but after a month of playing in the boots, kangaroo leather for the most part feels like kangaroo leather. The difference is going to be more so, I would say, the thickness rather than the softness at that point. But I think there's almost two categories of leather boots now, where you do have the old school stuff like the Copa Mundial, the Nike Premier, the Morelias, and then you do have the modern stuff like the Copa 19 Plus and the Tiempos, where you get the softness of the leather, but there's a security sensation as well.
Yeah, and
it's the old school stuff's just more sloppy.
Yeah, it's about what you like, really, right? For sure. Should we take one more question?
One more question.
Ooh, okay. I'm looking at the list here. There's a guy, JayMike, kannst du Deutsch sprechen? Ja, ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch. I speak a little bit German, so that's cool. That's not the question. How come you guys don't ever go to launch events? Because the guy who asked the question here feels like we would be some of the most qualified people to go to the launch events. Oh, thank you. But, I mean, you don't really go much just because you're in Canada. But I go to quite a few, and it's good fun.
Yeah, it's honestly that's kind of out of. I mean, yeah, you guys get invited to pretty much everything.
Yeah, we do.
It's out of my control. If I get an invite, I go. If I don't get an invite, I don't go.
Yes, I agree with the guy asking this question here. That I mean, it would probably be a normal thing. We've also talked about this before off camera. Like I feel it's weird that you don't get invited, and so many other people who just repost stuff on Instagram get invited. But I guess it's because you live in Canada. So I mean, I would invite you if it was up to me. But I guess
appreciate that,
why but why we don't host these things, I mean, I don't know, but probably because, at least in my case, because I work for Unisport. So if I'm suddenly hosting a Puma event and there are other guys from other companies, it would be a bit weird for them, hard for them to create content when there's a guy from Unisport who's like a recognizable face on that channel hosting the whole thing. So maybe that doesn't really work. We're more just there.
Yeah, the press event thing is interesting because it's I think it's a cool experience to actually be there, but to try and make a video and share that experience is extremely difficult to do because it just ends up being a darker room with loud music, people running around. It's kind of just chaos with some new boots.
Totally agree. And,
right?
And at this point, more or less everyone has seen all the videos from all the events that's been going on for the past 4 or 5 years. They know what's going on at an event. There's going to be a new boot, maybe some stars. There's going to be a cool rapper, some cool music, and everyone's gonna whip their phone out and put it on Instagram. That's kind of how it goes. So it's also going to be interesting to see how the brands make events in the future to make them unique, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I think it's cool when they have, because I went to the launch of the Nemesis when it first came out. And they had the designers there, and we got to ask the designers a few questions, and I feel like I asked questions that they didn't want to answer, but just having that opportunity was kind of cool, right? like no joke, I'm in the, like, it was like probably like a group of 20 people, and every question, I'm not joking, the two designers that were answering were just death stare right at me, answering these questions because they knew that I was going to go home and just start calling them out on certain things. And that's also part of the reason why I might not get invited as much is because, you know, I have a history of, I don't want to say making fun of stuff, but you know.
I would say that, I think. But okay, that was the last question for the Q&A part. And as Josh said a little bit before, I'll leave questions, whatever questions you might have, in the comment section. And we're going to pick out the best ones to answer as well in the future. Because just looking at the time here, I know, Josh, you mentioned to me before, you wanted to do something else, and it had to do with a top 3.
Yeah, so I figured since we're almost 1 month into 2019 now, if you got to take 3 boots to your match.
3 boots.
Put them in your bag. What are you taking right now?
Funny thing is...
current model. Has to be current model.
That's easy. No, it's not. I would take this bad boy, the Wave Cup Legends. Probably one of my favorite boots right now. I would take the Copa 19 Plus because I smash and love it. And I would take... Phantom Venoms?
Phantom Venom.
I think with a very special shout out to the Puma Future low cuts, which I'm loving more and more. So if you ask me in 2 weeks, these might have replaced one of the other boots. Because I feel like the Wave Cup Legends don't really count because they're not current anymore. They were a limited edition release and now they're gone. You can't get them anywhere. So if that's cheating, I would say the Puma Future 19.1 low cuts.
But I think that's an interesting list. And just getting off topic here, those 3 or 4 choices, I think just goes to show how difficult it is for these brands to try and produce boots that are going to appeal to a new audience, because you've effectively picked 4 boots that are completely different from each other.
Yes.
So how are they supposed to predict what us as consumers actually want? Like, I just think it's gotten to a point now with so much new stuff that we don't know what we want anymore. No. We just hope that whatever comes out is good, and if it is good, we respond to it.
And at the end of the day, right, that's what it's all about. It's not me thinking, yo, I want a pair of speed boots, so I have to wear the Mercurial. I'm more thinking, do I like it? Does it make me feel good on the pitch? And does it take my mind off of things and give me that little mental edge? That's all I'm looking for in a boot, the mental edge. So, so I think you're definitely right in that. But you can't push it any longer, mate. You have to give me your list.
My list.
Your list.
3 boots.
3 boots.
The easy pick for me, the easy pick is Phantom Vision. I still...
Vision?
Vision. I like Vision. I think I've had some time to reflect on it. I've thought about it a lot. And I'm afraid to share opinions like this, but I kind of think it's an ugly boot now that I'm like...
Yes.
It's sunken in.
Yes.
But Phantom Vision, for me, I like.
You like?
Yeah. Pick number 2. See, I want to say Phantom Venom because I'm a big fan of the Venom. The problem with the Venom is that for me, I've always found that whenever I wear a boot that has a lot of extra grip, I have to like stick with that boot because as soon as I go back to something that doesn't have the grip, it feels weird. And then when I go back, it feels weird again. So I kind of have to stick with that. So I'm keeping that in the bag as a backup.
Okay.
That's a backup. I'm not necessarily going to start the match in those.
Okay.
Unless I like feel that I need to change.
Interesting.
And then the third boot is very tough for me because I'm on the Future 19.1 low bandwagon for sure. But I don't know at this very moment that it's the boot that I would pick over a New Balance Tequila or even an X18.1. Those are the two boots that I would really, really struggle with.
I have a tough time actually leaving out the Mercurials and the X18.1s, but I have to choose. And I would probably end up, if I take the Venom, I'm going to leave the Mercurials at home. I could also have taken the Mercurials and leave the Venom at home. That's kind of a how do I feel on the day? But okay, I'm a bit taken aback by you bringing the Vision as number one. I mean,
I really like that boot
because I totally respect that. But for me, I mean, it's not a bad boot. It just could have been so much more. And I guess I'm also a little annoyed at that fact, and it kind of prevents me from really liking the Vision, other than the fact that it's super wide for me. But the color, the color material that feels a little cheap, and it just feels like a rush, lazy job that they could have made so much better for me. But I mean, this is the beauty of everything, that we can have two guys so passionate about boots and we can disagree so hard on something like this.
But that's it. It's all personal preference. Yeah. What I like, you might hate.
Yeah,
and that's fine. But what we can all agree on is that this is what everybody wants.
What?
Joma, we need the Champion Max 2. Oh. Shout out to you guys. We need it. I just had it handy. We need it. Okay,
and we need the Kappa Rattlers back now that Magis is gone, right?
Did you see those Kappas I posted on Instagram, by the way? The laceless ones?
Man, that's another thing I need to mention. Like, there are so many copies going around of like modern boots. You see these all over Instagram. Like, I don't wanna mention the brands because that's not like, I don't think it's cool. But so many guys making copies of laceless boots in current models. I don't understand how it's even how it works. How people can sell that stuff, because obviously Adi and Nike would want to shut it down. But it's just, I don't understand how Kappa can actually produce a boot like that and not get hit by 1,000 trademark
I don't
complaints.
know. Yeah, I think it's much harder to actually go after company. I don't know how familiar are you with Skechers. Do they have, is Skechers a European thing as well? It's an American company.
It's not very highly respected in Europe, I would say.
No, it's not. I wouldn't say it's highly respected here either. But if you go to a Skechers store, like, football boots are one thing, but if you just look at all the sneakers, it's just like blatant copies of the latest Nike sneakers and Adidas runners, and it's the whole company just seems to be not necessarily knockoffs, but let's say very similar designs to other brands.
But wait, Skechers make football boots.
They do make some.
I remember you posted a video. What's that one?
Those weren't. I mean, they kind of looked a little bit like the New Balance Furon.
Okay.
And just mostly because of the colorway.
Yeah.
But the boot itself wasn't a copy of really anything, and it actually wasn't. I kind of brought them in anticipating to just roast them, but they were not that bad, especially because they were only like $30.
That's not bad. That's not bad, to be honest.
Wouldn't wear them.
Okay, so those were kind of different lists and kind of similar. I think we're starting to see like a trend that some of the boots that we like the most would be we both like the Venom. We like the Furons. Sorry, not the Furons. The Futures. Futures, yeah. I think the Furon's all right, but I wouldn't take it to a match. But there are a lot. I mean, the fact that we had difficult time making a top 3 list, narrowing it down to 3 boots. And let's be honest, who other than you and me takes 3 boots to a match? I don't think anyone. Just that fact really emphasizes how many good boots are out there at the moment. It's crazy. And, speaking to guys at Unisport, when, there are so many different preferences where people make very good points as to why this boot is the best on the market. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, spoiled for choice right now, for sure.
Exactly. That's the beauty of working at a football store. We get to see so much, get the new boots in hand. Like, I can just tell you guys, listening and watching, that is, apart from becoming a professional football player, working with football boots, that is, it's a very good thing. And it's all possible because of you.
Hey, can I ask you a question real quick, just to end off on this?
Uh-huh.
Obviously, you're reviewing the newest boots, as am I.
Yes.
And we're kind of forced to just wear whatever the new thing is. Because we have to.
Yeah.
But if you didn't have to test boots for, let's say, 3 months, would you be rotating your boots constantly, or would you stick to the same pair?
Before I was hired at Unisport, I still did change my boots a lot because I just wanted to try what was out there. I still have a rotation, like a daily driver, so to speak, where I have boots that I wear when I don't really test new stuff. Obviously, we get new colorways and all that stuff, but when there's no new boot to really test and review, I have boots that I go back to, so to speak, but they're all relatively new. And I still, whenever I go to training, and I'm always standing before my boot wall thinking, what am I going to wear today? So it's kind of like a constant struggle. For matches, I kind of go back to the same 3-4 boots. But yeah, what about you?
See, I was just going to say the same thing. I really hate the feeling of like going to play and I don't have to test anything out and I have to just pick what I'm going to wear. I don't like that. So if I had a 3-month period where I didn't have to test anything, I would probably just stick with the same boots and not have to think about it.
Yeah.
Where I really, for a short time, I was doing my channel that I don't do anymore, hockey reviews for you. And I was getting a ton of hockey equipment. And hockey equipment is, if you've never played hockey, you wouldn't know, but it's really tough to get used to new hockey equipment.
Oh, okay.
And I was wearing new stuff all the time. And for the first week, I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then I kept going and I'm like, man, this is kind of horrible. You just feel like you like put all your stuff on and everything just feels weird from the last time you played because the sensation of familiarity is something that I really like. And if I can play and not have to focus on what's on my feet and if I'm going to get a blister or if something's going to happen that I don't anticipate, that to me is good. I just want to concentrate on playing and nothing else.
I feel the same way, but for me, it really depends on my mood that day. Do I want to wear my slippers? Am I dropping into a Morelia? Do I want to wear the ones or the Copas, or do I want to go full hardcore speed and wear the Mercurials or now the Venoms? So for me, the boots are so good these days that I can feel comfortable and take my mind off of things and just play football, no matter what I wear. So for me, it's also just a little bit of,
That's a good point. I do the same thing. You're right. So if I'm feeling like energetic, I'm going to put on something that's more speed boot-esque.
Yeah,
you're right.
It's all about the mindset, right? How you feel that day and get on that little mental edge, so you feel good now that you are in the blessed situation of having a lot of options for boots, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but Josh, we are in a blessed situation. People out there who want to listen to us ramble on for I think 50 minutes now talking about football boots. It's guys, we can't thank you enough. It's a really really big thing. But keep in mind that we're gonna try and do this every week if possible, and of course you can leave your questions that we're gonna try to reply to in the comment section right down below. You can, of course, also go and watch all the stuff Josh does by clicking right over here on the screen, and you can also go and see what we do at Unisport by clicking right over there. And, of course, if you haven't subscribed already, click the button in the middle of the screen, maybe even over my head, to subscribe to the Boot Nerds and hear all our ramblings every time we talk, which is a lot. So, Josh, any more stuff?
Audio-only versions in the description.
Yep.
Go ahead and check that out. It's on bootnerds.com if you go head over there. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate the support so far. I think I speak for both of us in saying that we're really enjoying this. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Peace, guys. Signing off. Cheerio.
Peace.